Warning, you are listening to an adult podcast talking about adult topics. You have definitely been warned.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Hoppy Craftsmen. Sorry we were gone for a few weeks there. Had to get some operational and organizational things under control. Everything kind of just came together so fast for us. We just wanted to make sure that we were getting the best product out there for you guys, for the viewers and the listeners. So we are back now. It is myself, Brandon, and Chris.
Hello.
And we hope to be back here on a more regular basis for you. This evening we're going to be chatting a little bit about what everybody's chatting about currently, because it is election season. So we decided to have a little bit of a State of Our Union show. Just kind of go over what we hope to accomplish here with our podcast, make it a little bit interesting with the politics and everything and revolving around the election currently.
So the first we want to get into is the candidates themselves, right? I saw a sign today that said, even a vote of two lesser evils is still a vote for evil. And it made me laugh, and I wanted to take a picture and go over to it. I just didn't have time. I think that's kind of what everybody feels. It's kind of this, nobody really likes the candidates either way. There's always bad things about either candidate in an election, but this year it seems like there are
bad things about both.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to find the silver lining in either candidate.
Right. Not that we're talking bad about either candidate. We don't want to come off on, being on one side or the other. But at the same time, it's just been the whole topic of conversation for the past year, just this whole election process.
Again, we're a craft beer show. We're not a political news talk radio. Yeah. We're not being paid by either candidate to talk about anything. So this is just us chatting and having a good time. So
yeah. So we decided the best way to kind of talk about each of the candidates was to actually taste a beer from where each of them is born. We wanted to start off with Hillary Clinton. She was born in Chicago, Illinois. I just recently discovered that Distill Brewing is out of Illinois, Bloomington, a little bit outside of Chicago. Right. Funny enough, when I was actually thinking about what beer would be perfect for Chicago, being that the World Series had just ended, go Cubs. The beer that always came to mind was got to drink some Old Style. But Old Style is a Milwaukee brewed beer.
It's true.
And I didn't realize that until I was actually picking one up and looked at the label and wanted to get an Old Style, but that would not have represented Illinois as much as Distill would have. So Distill has been making a comeback lately, and especially with their wild sour line. And I know my friend over here, Chris, really loves the sours. I'm getting into them a little bit more, but Chris found a special one that had recently been distributed out here. Maybe he has a little something to say about it.
Yeah, I follow Distill on Instagram, and I've been keeping my eye on this. They've actually teased it a few times, and every time it's like, we better get that here soon. It's got to come out. It's got to come out, and luckily it came out this past week here. So, real big fan of the stouts in general, sours. But the great part is that this is a sour and a stout together.
Nice.
Right. So normally you don't see a ton of those. I mean, there's a sour ales and there's brilliant Weisses and Gozas and all those kind of things, but you usually don't see the sour come into a stout ever. I mean, I've seen one other one from Tucson Brewery, which can't think of offhand, but this is the other one, and I was super excited when it came out. So it's a sour stout with plums, which is really cool, unfiltered, kettle sour, and I'm trying to find, it's 5.6 by volume and 37 IBUs, so not high on the IBU scale, which I mean you'd pretty much imagine for a sour beer.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, that is awesome.
No, it tastes it is a sour beer. The fruit of the plum helps bring out it brings together the sour and the stout combined. So I feel like it just helps combine taste notes of the sour along with the chocolate of the stout. It's a great combination, especially because today is, when we're recording this, National Stout Day. Yay. So it just made sense that it was like the trifecta of stout, being from Illinois, where Hillary is from, a very drinkable and tasty beer that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's real good. I mean, it even says on here, chocolate covered cherries to bring everything in balance.
Yeah.
And that's actually perfect.
Tart, cherry, stout, chocolate, delicious.
Which is real good.
Yeah.
I like that. So on another side note there, the beers we picked out, we kind of went with that. I actually had another idea that I wanted to use and choose for the candidates. I actually put out a feeler on, I'm not going to say the blog, but it's a big beer review blog. People actually replied back, kind of give me ideas for the different candidates. Evidently, you can't mix politics and beer blogging because they got real upset. They deleted my post. They sent me a message, told me never to do that again. The virtual slap on the wrist kind of thing.
Right.
And it kind of put me out.
So we just decided to go in a different route, like I said, of trying the beers from where each one of the candidates is from. Not necessarily where their political party is now, just where they're from.
They're from in general. So yeah, no, it's super cool. I just had a different idea, and it really kind of irked me that was. Yeah. It's like, nope, deleted. Sorry. Sorry, everything. Nope.
That's just the way the internet is.
Right. I guess I can see that where it probably would have snowballed and spiraled out of control. And it's the internet. So if you've ever been on there, if not, let me give you a warning.
We are on the internet, by the way.
We are. So if you're listening to this, I don't know how you've never been on the internet, but there are a lot of mean people on there.
Yeah.
They say a lot of mean things.
Yeah.
I can see how it would spiral. Again, it just felt really like I was like, oh man, I just had this great post, and then all of a sudden it just got deleted. So
everything sounds great.
Yeah, so fun stuff.
This one was for Hillary, the Wild Sour Plum Sour Stout from Distill Brewery out of Bloomington, Illinois. Here's to you, Hillary. Next up is the Donald. Donald was born in Queens, New York, so we got beer from Brooklyn Brewery. And picked out, since it was just fall season, or still is fall season, but from our last show, we did a pumpkin special. So we decided to go along with that theme. Went with their Post Road Pumpkin Ale. Really, really bold flavor of cloves, mixed in with all of the pumpkin spice flavor and brewed with pumpkin, all the other spices that they throw into the matter. But this one really boasts a huge clove flavor to it. So, being that Donald is from New York and Queens, we are tributing Brooklyn Brewery.
It's funny. I actually, right after our last show, Draft Magazine had an article about pumpkin beers. It was like the best 63 pumpkin beers, and it was funny because they went into the whole. There's a lot of. Not to hash our old show, but like what we said, there's people there's so much hate for pumpkin beers, and then there's so much people who love pumpkin beers. And they didn't understand it until they had to try 63 different pumpkin beers, and they could totally get what they were saying. So they actually ranked these pumpkin beers in categories. Right. A lot of beers we tried were actually in that list, which was really cool. I'm not sure if this one was or not, but I'm trying to actually see if I can find it and we can look into it. But
yeah, among the 68 beers that they tried, I would assume. There's.
I would hope.
Who knows how many actually pumpkin beers there are out there? I think I saw something where Rate Beer or something had done 80 some odd. So there's who knows? Everybody has their craft, their different pumpkin. This one is unique in its own right because of the bold clove flavor to it. Just seemed appropriate since it is fall season. I guess he kind of does have some red hair to him, but that's neither.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That was actually just an added bonus, I guess you could say.
It's funny. Again, from our last show, I'm not a huge fan of the ales in pumpkin style. This is okay to me. It's definitely a big pumpkin spice. Not a huge fan of it. Love Brooklyn Brewery, and I'm glad that we can get them out here now. So
right.
I'll never turn down other breweries come here and trying them. So
never turn down free beer either.
It's true. It always seems like there's free beer tomorrow, though. That's the problem.
It's always tomorrow, though, Chris. And speaking of beer and the election, recently there was a bit of a hubbub, I guess you could say, in the craft beer world after Eric Trump, the son of Donald, went on a campaign rally at Yuengling Brewery. A lot of people came up in uproar because of this, in non-support of Brewer, the head brewmaster there at Yuengling, showing support for Donald, and so everybody decided to jump on the boycott wagon this time around for Yuengling Brewery, which I'm sure will die out eventually. Right. It just seemed logical with the whole political season we're in, and the fact that we are a craft beer talk show podcast to bring this subject up.
It's funny. There's actually, I mean, in both sides, people are going to be boycotting, and people actually are for it too.
Right.
And actually, one of these people retweeted Eric Trump's thing, and he said basically, I think the Trump boys should buy a 6-pack of Yuengling beer as the company's behind his efforts.
It's just, like I said, it's one of those things where you boycott it now, but a year from now you're going to forget about it and you're going to go back to drinking Yuengling beer.
It's funny. I guess at some point, if you're that successful, or you have at least you feel like you're comfortable in your market, you can make these I endorse this candidate or this candidate, because really that's a huge thing to all of a sudden be. I'm literally basically telling the part of the United States, I don't care what you think. This is who I support. Mm-hmm. You should support who I support. Right. So you're kind of alienating a whole group of people, by saying you should endorse somebody over somebody else. So it's really, it's a ballsy kind of move, right, in my opinion, to do that.
Well, it's much like the same as when the CEO for Starbucks came out in support of Hillary. All the Trump bandwagoners jumped on that and saying that they're going to boycott Starbucks. So, and I guarantee that they're going to be back at Starbucks, after the election or whatever have you. Right. But it goes both ways. Whether it's a brewery, whether it's Starbucks, everybody's going to have their differences of opinion, and that's just the way the world works. Boycott it now. I believe there was something that happened with Chick-fil-A a few years ago, right. And I'm pretty sure people still eat at Chick-fil-A.
I was there a couple weeks ago. It was really busy.
Yeah,
it was real busy. And it's funny. My wife is one of the people that will boycott Chick-fil-A. She does not go there.
Really?
So I go there when she's not around. So I go. I don't go that often, but yes, it's kind of funny. Those people do that kind of thing where they're just
on the bubble, off the bubble,
right? But and somebody they actually said in one of these articles too. They talked about the best way to vote really is with your wallet to these companies, and that's what they're going to do. Is they're not going to spend their money with a company that supports a candidate they don't believe in, because that money is just going to get funneled into whoever. So
yeah,
it's that makes sense, and it's kind of funny. It kind of flows into something we have later in the show.
Well, now that we've heard a little bit about candidates, which probably one of which will be elected by the time that this podcast is aired, we decided to keep with the political scheme for the episode. And what do all political running candidates look for? What are they all?
What are their policies, right?
What are their policies? And so we decided to play off of the 3 big policies of any candidate, which would be their education plan, their healthcare bill, and foreign policies. To kick off the education plan, we just decided to discuss why we started off with a beer podcast in general.
Right. So it's funny. I was actually lucky enough to guest star on a podcast last week, or be a guest host on there. That's one of the things they asked me. Why did you start a podcast? And one of the things I told them was that the idea was I had a kid at the time. I wasn't spending a lot of time with my friends, and that's how it happens when you have kids. You just kind of get sucked away. We'd meet up and we'd talk, and it would be this nonstop just spewing of knowledge of beer and everything that's been happening. And I was thinking about some more after the fact, and it's funny. I would say it's not necessarily been my mission since I started drinking craft beer, but it's definitely been an underlying scheme of mine to basically indoctrinate all my friends into the craft beer and educate them about, there is a better product out there. There's stuff at this point, we're not drinking to get drunk anymore. We're drinking because we enjoy beer. We enjoy the flavor of beer. It's just, there's so many good things out there. And luckily, I actually convinced a lot of my friends to drink craft beer.
I would be one of them.
And then they actually convinced their fathers to drink craft beer.
My father would be one of them.
And it's so on and so forth. And I have multiple friends that have done that. It's really crazy just how it's spread. And so the craft beer fever or whatever it's been just kind of hit everybody. So it's really cool. I think that's part of the reason the podcast. I want to educate people about good beer, and I want to talk about things that are happening in the world. I took a coworker to a beer place. The sticker price shock was insane with him. He couldn't understand why certain beers were so expensive. He's a foodie. He loves food. He'll spend $100. He flew to New York to actually buy food, right? But when I showed him a price of a 12-ounce bottle of beer that was for $15, he was like, oh, why would you spend that? Well, there's no way.
Probably the equivalent of a $90 bottle of wine,
exactly.
for winos, not to make offense to any people that like wine, but
goddamn winos under the bridge. Those kind of winos, right?
but to your point, it is kind of a culture shock when you are used to drinking, the generic off brands, or not even off brands, but some of the, more regularly available brands of Bud Light or, whatever that are $3 or $4 a pint.
Right.
As opposed to a $6-7 pint or snifter, or depending on the type of beer, 22-ounce bomber for, $20. It's a little different.
Well, and the idea was to, also, I said, it wasn't like, oh, it's because it's craft beer, that's just the way it is. I was like, hey, here's the deal. There's a lot that goes into this beer. It's not just, we're going to make a beer and then we're going to spell it for, we're going to charge twice as much that we want to do for it. Mm-hmm. It's hey, there's specialty malts in here. There's certain hops that are hard to get. There's other ingredients that don't come from a can, or that, they actually grow these things, or have to actually pay farmers and have them shipped from them, or get them from South America, or just wherever. There's a lot that goes into this beer. And so for them to actually almost break even sometimes, they have to charge a more premium price for it. And so especially, and I think in a world where people don't know that a lot, or they're not really privy to that information, that's my thought is, I want to help people understand why craft beers are the way they are. That's why we pay this amount of money. That's why we look for special bottles and those kind of things. It's because of these things. So, like I said, that's kind of my mission statement, if you will, for this podcast, to help and educate the masses.
And like Chris said, he's here to lend his knowledge to anybody. And ever since I moved up to the valley here in Phoenix 9 years ago, almost 10 years now, the first thing Chris did was take me to Papago. Right. And, he indoctrinated me into the craft beer scene. And I had actually had, tastings into it previously in my life down in Tucson, but really it never dawned on me that there was a whole another craft world out there. We would go down to the local pub and drink Oak Creek Hefeweizen, which to us was amazing. And it is a craft beer, but we didn't really ever think about it as being a craft beer. It was just another beer that was delicious that we'd love to drink. We'd drink, pitchers of it. It wasn't until I moved up here and we went to Papago and just saw the variety and the endless shelves and refrigerators of craft beer that they have over there. 30 different beers on tap, and not Bud Light, not big beer. And it was an eye opener for sure. And then, I've been fortunate enough to pass that information along, like I said, to my father and to other friends, and just want to spread our wealth of knowledge and enjoyment in what is craft beer.
And it's funny that the knowledge went from our generation up, kind of thing, right? It's usually you think of your father passing that information down to you, and it's been the exact opposite, which is.
Well, it's not like that he didn't pass along beer to me. I can remember fond memories of drinking the High Life, and the champagne of beer, with my father. It's just enjoyable to, and he tried to share on me, cigars and scotch on the porch. I wanted to share craft beer on with him, and he does enjoy his trips to Total Wine, and I'm sure he'll get a kick out of me bringing him up on that.
Right. I really hope that when my son gets of age, I will also help maybe impart some of this knowledge on him.
Oh, I'll help him too.
Yeah. It's going to be great that all his uncles are going to be these craft beer aficionados, and they're going to be like, no, your first craft beer you ever try is going to beat this one.
Well, technically he already has tried craft beer. But
I don't know what you're talking about, Brandon. My son has not tried craft beer. That would be immoral and against the law.
Right.
Unless we're in Europe, and then it'd be totally common. So don't worry about it.
Nothing. No, but like I said, this is just our attempt to try to educate the listening viewers into, hopefully wanting to, if you guys have any ideas or thoughts or topics or, beers that you'd like us to talk about, obviously comment, send us posts, text us, email us, whatever. We'd love to, talk about what you want to hear. And, we have a plethora of knowledge that we can, tap from. So
definitely. That's, send us your ideas. There's things you want to hear, definitely send them to us. We'll take it in consideration. You said, Brandon, email is probably the best way to get a hold of us right at this point.
Yep.
Or Facebook.
I believe it's hoppycraftsmen@gmail.com. Facebook, Instagram, direct message us, whatever it may be. If you have beers that you'd like us to try, suggestions, if we can't get them here, please send them to us. We're always taking donations for beverages, and we'll talk about it. We'll give you a shout out on the episode, and, we'll go from there.
Our next policy would be healthcare. And since I technically am not you guys can't see me, I'm not really in the running shape of things. But Brandon, on the other hand, technically is a very good runner. He's got some medals on the wall to prove it. So I'll let him kind of go with this policy?
Well, I do. Yes, I have a reborn love for running, and I have actually competed in 3 half marathons this year alone, 3 more next year. But one of the biggest things that I was seen or noticed with finishing the races is you get a complimentary beer at the end of every race.
I mean, nice.
It's a Michelob Ultra, low carb, you know, but it's a free beer. So a lot of these races are promoting beer. So it got me to thinking, well, if they're promoting beer after a run, there's got to be something about beer that is maybe there's health benefits to it.
Could you bring your own roadie to these marathons? Like when you get done with like that, you just like pop out with a little like, fanny pack and then pop out like a can of something and just chug it real quick.
Well, I mean, you know,
doesn't mean to stop you.
Anything's possible, but
right.
Like I said, they on your bib for your race number, there's actually a coupon for a free beer at the end of the run.
That's
so
pretty awesome.
I participate in the Rock and Roll Marathon Series, and they are partnered with Michelob Ultra, and at the end of the run, you can go get your free complimentary beer at the end. It's kind of an interesting twist on, you know, beer being healthy. Doing some research on it, a couple of the running sites that I follow have had articles about beer and its health benefits. One of the articles that I have in front of me just lists off several different benefits of beer. One being it can reduce the risk of heart disease, otherwise lower your risk for type 2 diabetes. It can increase bone density, which is great for runners. You know, we want to have strong bones, not just calcium that you can get from milk, but potentially you can also build your bones from drinking beer. And these are all studies, you know, I'm sure there's been research done into it. You know, I can't speak to where the information is from. This one about the bone density was from the Journal of Science and Food and Agriculture. But I mean, you know, there must be a reason why these races or health nuts in general are promoting beer, and it's not just because it tastes good, but it might be good for you too.
You know, I think with any kind of like research or any kind of that, it's definitely good to figure out one who's actually doing the research. You know, who's actually sponsoring it, what kind of research they do. You know, is it legit or not, right? Because if it's
Right.
like, if this is, you know, some alcohol, whatever, you know, basically backing the research study, sometimes they kind of they can spin their stuff to results to show what they want. You know, there's definitely a lot of information here about, you know, that being healthier. And that being said, I know for a long time that homebrewing, they actually said the yeast, there's actually a lot of B12 in the yeast. So, you know, there's definitely a lot of things. And this would talk about wine. I think with anything, and especially like this, it's basically moderation is always going to be the key, no matter what, right? So if it's funny, like this first one, they actually do a heat map of the world and, you know, the amount of consumption that different countries have. There's definitely some darker countries on here.
I believe the United States was very dark.
Yeah, right. Just a little above Mexico, we're at 50% and they're at 75.7%.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's moderation. I mean, if you're chugging down 30 packs of whatever, that's a lot different than drinking a beer with dinner or going out to eat with friends and having beer.
Right.
You're not doing, again, it comes back to, we're not drinking to get drunk anymore. We're drinking to enjoy it and have fun. And I think that ties a lot into it as well. I think that helps with the health benefits, is that, you know, we're not slamming down friggin' 120-minute IPAs and having a good time with it.
Well, I don't know what you're doing on the weekend, but
I would be sleeping most of the weekend if that was happening.
Yeah.
I mean, just with the Strong Beer Fest here,
it's easy to do.
It's easy to do. It's real fast.
Tasters of high ABV beers, which are all delicious in their own rights, but when you get 48 samplers, you know, in 6 hours, that's a lot of drinking.
Right. It's the binge drinking like that. It doesn't happen that often.
Right.
And when it does, it's not. They're 2 on samplers, like you said. It's not like I'm kicking 48 12-ounce beers down. There's just no way I'd be in the ground in the first 4.
Yeah, you know, I'll continue to drink beer even whether it's healthy or not, just because I like beer so much. You know, it just
it's an added bonus. I mean, right?
Right.
If it's also kind of healthy for you, great.
If it can help prevent from kidney stones, then I am all for that.
I'm 100% true on that one. So the other policy here would be the foreign policy. And it kind of goes back to what I said earlier about how people vote with their wallet. This kind of ties into it a little bit as well, too, is that it's kind of funny how Anheuser-Busch is now technically a foreign company where they're bought out by InBev, which is a European company.
German conglomerate.
Okay.
Mistaken.
So they're owned by them now. Yet they decide to rename their beer American, which is a weird thing to me. Yeah, it's very weird. Yeah.
Well, it's not just InBev. It's all 5 major big beer companies are all foreign owned now. Miller, Coors, Anheuser-Busch. They're all owned by some sort of foreign conglomerate.
America.
But yes, the whole oxymoron of let's rebrand our flagship beer America for the summer so everybody can be drinking American beer.
For the election.
Well, for the election too. It was rebranded back over the summer, which I think fell in line with 4th of July and everything, and wanting to just get Budweiser back out there basically for the general population. And I'm sure it helped because it is election season too. That hey, let's name our beer America because we'll get people to go out there and vote. I'm not sure if that's the case.
Yeah, it's funny that they only renamed Budweiser that. I'm not sure why they didn't rename Bud Lime that. Like
Bud Lime.
It's like America Light Lime or something, dumpster water America.
Chelada America.
Yeah, right. It's evidently there's named the one beer that, but they decide they have so many other awful beers that they could have named.
And that's the best part about craft beers. It's all local. We're trying to keep it local as much as possible. And, from trying to keep these breweries from selling out, air quotes in there when I'm saying selling out, they've obviously done something right in order to get the attention of big beer to be able to be purchased for an amount, undisclosed amount in the case of most of these breweries. We've alluded to it in the past with one of our local breweries, Four Peaks Brewing, having sold their rights to InBev recently. It was kind of a shock and hurtful for a lot of the craft beer scene here in Arizona and Phoenix in general.
Well, it's funny. So they're not even at this point not just going after craft beer places. They actually bought up Northern Brewing Supply, I believe, which is a giant homebrewer selection for the United States. And so now they're not only going after people that actually make craft beer and then buying them out, they're actually doing the homebrewers as well. I want to say they released a statement, the homebrewers thing did, and it's funny at this point, and actually was listening to their podcast and they brought this up, and it's 100% true. The response was, we're really happy to be part of InBev, blah, blah, blah. Nothing's going to change. Nothing. And so it's funny that they, I can recite it from memory. I don't look at the article at this point. I know it. And when they said it, I was like, yep, 100% true. Mm-hmm. Every person that's been, quote unquote, bought out or sold out has had one of those statements where it's like, hey guys, don't worry about it. We're part of the machine now, but nothing's going to change, guys. Don't worry about it. Nothing's going to change.
Right. Our food's going to be the same. The beer's going to be the same until they start producing the beer in a major facility.
Right. Until it moves off site and they start, and again, I've said this before, hats off to big beer, because if the amount of technology that came out of them making their beer, the science of it, all craft beers are using that stuff right now. We wouldn't have any of that if big beer didn't do that, and just the ability for them to churn out the same horrible bland beer. But at the same time, it's always the exact same,
right?
And to be able to do that in multiple facilities every single time they do it is really, really amazing. So I know it's probably not the most craft beer thing to say, but that's kudos to them.
Politically correct, political episode.
Right. It's just really funny that they can do that. It's amazing. So,
more power to them. They did set the standard. Obviously, all these craft beers to come after big beer have been influenced by big beer at some point. They wouldn't be in the game if it wasn't for Anheuser-Busch or Coors or Miller down the road. Just starting the whole beer phenomenon.
Or even if it's just, I want to make something better than this beer. Mm-hmm. And then I know I can make something better than this beer. Which was
Sam Adams back in the day, which is still a craft beer brewery, but has blown up into
a regional craft brewer, I believe is what they're
Well, I believe they, started their own brewing company, which is the Boston Beer Co.
Right.
So they, can do what Big Beer is doing essentially in, buying up local craft breweries on the East Coast there,
right,
but keeping them craft.
Right. I just meant the size. Technically, the size of Sam Adams is a regional craft brewer at this point compared to the official, how many barrels they produce a year. They're technically a regional craft brewer, right? But they are still, even, I want to say what craft beer at this point is 12% of the national market is craft beer. And that's including them. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I can only imagine what, they're like 1% of that 12,
right? Exactly.
Maybe at the top. Yep. But that's like, New Belgium as well. New Belgium has gone off the charts with all their beers. We, had their pump kick last week for their the pumpkins show, or not last week, or our last episode, but they are still the same thing, a regional brewery to the Mountain West here.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about, I don't know if you've ever seen the show. It's called Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. Mm-hmm. After the Daily Show kind of, Jon Stewart left the Daily Show, everybody kind of wondered who was going to fill the role. And I know there's actually still a Daily Show, and I really haven't watched it. It just doesn't, I don't know, have the same feeling anymore. Colbert is gone too. And so John Oliver, who was on the Daily Show, is one of the, the correspondents, actually has his own show now on HBO, again, called Last Week Tonight. And he, it's a news show. It's great because it's on HBO. He swears a lot. So that's really nice to be able to get some news things.
We are an adult show too, Chris, so you can swear.
Are you fucking kidding me right now? We can swear?
We do have a disclaimer.
Yes. But he actually has this giant list. He actually, every time he talks about the election, he refers to it in a different manner. And some of the names are just great. So I kind of want to go through some of these great names for the election year. Let's see. So the electoral equivalent of seeing someone puking. So you start puking and then someone else is puking, and pretty soon everyone is puking 2016, which that's pretty awesome. Let's see what else he said. Oh, I get it. We all died, and this is hell, and Satan has cursed to live out the nightmare for all eternity 2016.
Right. Yeah. And it's just kind of alluding to the fact that this whole election season, the two candidates has been kind of upside down. There's been so much debate about whether they are the best candidates that we should have. Well, they're the only candidates we have. So, right. It's not a matter of who, but when and why and how. So, this whole, like I said, this whole political season has just kind of been upside down. And so, we just wanted to poke fun at it a little bit without trying to be too offensive.
The number 3 is pretty good. It's the holy shit, please make it stop, trash fire 2015.
So there's that.
It's pretty amazing. The show, you definitely have to watch it. It's funny, like what the Daily Show did for news for younger people. Mm-hmm. I think this has helped continue on that. I think I get more news from this than I do from any other news source, really.
Right.
Besides the interwebs, which we all know that interwebs is 100% real, so or true. Everything on the internet's real, so it's real and true, and so
it's truly real. But in regards to how this election season has been, this whole time we've sipping on Lagunitas's Wilco Tango Foxtrot, and it just seemed like an appropriate beer for this election cycle, more so just because of the name. It is a delicious beer. It's a malty, robust, jobless recovery ale. I'm not sure what that means exactly, but it is delicious.
I love this beer. It's really good. I've had it in the past. I love it. It's still great.
It is a fan favorite. It's a limited release, but they release it here at least once a year.
Yeah, I think it's a seasonal beer. They release it seasonal here.
Right.
It's real good, though.
But like I said, it just it seemed appropriate for right now.
Malty and boozy, and so a little bit of bitterness there.
Whenever you're thinking about the election this season, just remember Wilco Tango Foxtrot.
All right, so we couldn't actually have a political or electoral show about, without actually talking about the current president, right?
Right.
We actually got a beer from Avery called Ale to the Chief. Which is so they actually made this beer. This is the third time they brewed it. I actually think I had it the first time, and not the second time. But it's 8.1% ABV. It's basically, they wanted to make a beer that was worthy of being in the Oval Office. Mm-hmm. Obama himself actually is a home brewer, which is really cool.
He is.
Then they actually didn't want to even use the word imperial. in the name of this. They actually call it presidential, which is kind of funny. So
it is a presidential pale ale to celebrate the inauguration day, essentially. And I believe like you said, the first one was done on Obama's inauguration day, actually probably 4 years ago now. So this one that we are partaking in was done for the upcoming inaugural for whoever is going to be our next president.
Right. Well, I think this is they did. When he first got elected, they did it. Then they did another one and got reelected. And then this one is actually for whoever the new president is.
Oh, I see. So every fourth year.
Right. So this is the third time they've done it, but the first time in 4 years.
I see.
Now, it's really good, though. They actually say it's a bipartisan blend of malt and hops.
Oh.
Which is like, yeah, look at that.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Way to go, Avery. Hats off to you.
Bringing those Republicans and Democrats together one beer at a time.
One beer at a time. Just give them a keg of this or two, and then she'll get done for about 5 minutes.
Right. But as you did, mention, Obama is a home brewer, and he actually has commissioned several beers to be brewed in the White House, which is actually a first.
Wow, really?
Yeah, he has two beers.
So what they're saying is that Washington and Jefferson and those guys never, even Sam Adams, did Sam Adams not brew in the White House? Because this seems weird.
On record, I guess, probably the first one to actually have a beer commissioned for him and actually brewed within the White House that has been labeled a presidential beer.
So what you're saying is my 8th grade history class failed me. My U.S. history class.
Well, if you were learning about beer in 8th grade, then hats off to that teacher.
Thanks, Obama.
Wait. Well, we're talking about Obama.
Oh wait,
I mean,
thanks, Obama.
He's actually a good guy, and if they could make an amendment, maybe
there might be some people that would
4 more years.
Yeah.
Like I said, he does have 2 beers that they've actually brewed in house for him. The first is
wait. Did they brew in house, or is he's actually brewing these beers?
Well, I don't know if he's actually brewing them. I'm sure he had a say in what brand or style of beer they were.
If he's not going to the fermenter and checking that bubbler every couple of fucking days, this seems like a farce.
Adding the hops.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta
roasting the beans.
Right. I'm gonna drop my beans in here. So Brandon just outed himself about how much he knows about homebrew. Add the beers. What beans? We talking about lima beans?
No, I didn't say I said roast the beans.
Oh, roast the beans.
Because he does have a porter as one of his beers, a honey porter actually, to go along with the honey ale that they both available online. Actually, if you want the recipe, you can actually brew the presidential homebrewers.
Right, because I think it's because of the Freedom of Information Act. He had to release his recipes, which sucks because if he planned on being a craft beer like brewer after he got out of the way, like that was his retirement plan, was I'm gonna make a brewery in DC.
Yeah.
Like now he's got to make new recipes.
Well, no, but he can market the ones that were in the White House while he was during his term. So I mean, that could be a marketing ploy.
So, but this does actually say the first POTUS,
President of the United States.
Yeah, so I know it's POTUS. It's like potato. I mean,
yeah.
But yes, it says he is the first to make beer in the White House. So I would assume that would be he made the beer.
Right.
So
I'm sure, I'm sure he had a hand in the initial brewing process. Whether he continues to, I mean, he's got a lot of other important things on his hands.
Not these last couple of months.
Well, that's true. I mean, maybe he is just phoning it home and brewing this beer now just himself. Awesome. But I mean, it's great. It's just it's a testament of how much beer has impacted us as a culture.
Right.
That you always see him, at a local pub or whatever whenever he's out on the road. So drinking a pint.
It's the equivalent of like Clinton's McDonald's when he was in office. Like he'd be in McDonald's for his jog, and you see Obama like, I'm just going down to local pub and get me an IPA.
I mean, that's a better way to get to your constituents. Is
right.
I'm going to go have a drink with you. Who would you want to have a drink with if you could? And why not a president?
Yeah. This is George Washington brewed beer and distilled whiskey at Mount Vernon, but not in the White House, and so did Jefferson.
All right,
see, so
there it is.
They could have been the first, but they decided to do it off grounds.
Right. Well, this other article that I have here says that Obama is basically the Home Brewers Association has bestowed upon him a lifetime membership for his brewing efforts within the White House, and that his journey to turn 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue into a brewery began in 2011. So about the past 5 years or so now, he has been brewing his own home beer in the White House.
Okay, so then I will give him the benefit of the doubt because he is the El Presidente to say that he actually is brewing that beer. Because, I mean, at least if they gave him a membership, he's got to be active in brewing. So
yeah. And like I said, his recipes are available through, I believe it's whitehouse.org. I would love to, maybe at some point try one of them. I'm sure they're not available, but maybe we'll get back into the brewing game, and eventually one of these days we'll brew one of the presidential beers.
It's funny, like it's always one of those things where like, yeah, we should homebrew next weekend or sometime soon or next year.
We've been talking about home brewing for years,
right? And I've done it. I've definitely homebrewed. It's just always been
we'll next week.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll figure out a weekend that's good for us, and we'll all homebrew. And then
next week.
Yeah. So
and then it seems like every beer that we think of as a good idea gets taken by the time we actually get around to all our punny names or whatever have you.
Still got one good one. I haven't seen that one yet. I would say not to get off topic, but Wooden Robot Brewing. They have some great names from some of their beers.
Never heard Wooden Robot?
Yeah, they're I want to say from North Carolina. Let's see if I can pull up some of their names.
Out to the East Coast, North Carolina.
They got some really. I follow them on Instagram, and they post their beers, and just really good names for some of their beers, man.
It says here that Obama loves America's favorite libations is secretly, it's certainly no secret, been photographed drinking at breweries in Denver and North Carolina. So maybe even your brewery there in North Carolina, he's partaking in some of their lovely beverages. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see that that craft beer is affecting so many people, and even as far up as the president to have a beer on occasion, even if it's just, bringing two people together on the White House lawn, to make amends.
That'd be awesome. All right. So some of their names are Mind Your Biscus, which is a red,
which is like a hibiscus style?
Yeah, it's a hibiscus red amber. Yeah.
All right.
Heidi Ho Neighborino.
Oh, wow.
Which is a session IPA.
Yeah.
Flanders and his
Tool Time.
It'd be Tool Time, right? I'm thinking of
Tim the Toolman Taylor.
That's right. Okay. Now I'm thinking of
Home Improvement.
Yeah, I was thinking of Simpsons for some reason.
No,
Flanders.
I'm thinking Wilson, the neighbor.
Back. Yeah, Wilson.
Heidi Ho, good neighbor.
How Now Brown Cow. It's a good one.
Brown Ale.
Yep. Just another one up here. Godless Killing Machine. It's Imperial Stout. Yeah, all Citra everything, which is great. Good Morning Vietnam. So that's a pretty good name too. It's the coffee vanilla bean blonde ale.
All right. Well, we raise this ale to the chief, to the current president for the time he has remaining. So cheers to Obama.
Cheers. All right, guys. It's time now for a thing we like to call, our local news or local happenings. I think we should have a sound effect right there, like a local news.
Wah, wah.
Right. And then go into like the new. We should do that every time. I don't think we should even have a sound. We should do it.
That's recorded, so you could just do that every time now.
Just dub it over. So recently, I was actually told that somebody I knew actually was making books. They're actually like drawing journals and things out of upcycled 6-packs and 12 boxes of craft beer. And so super excited, got in contact with this guy. Just so happens I actually had a 6-pack laying around. I brought it back from Chicago with me, and I actually commissioned him to make me a beer tasting journal from it.
So the cover of the book, the journal, is of the 6-pack.
Right, yeah. So he actually hand cuts everything and hand stitches the bindings into it, which is really amazing, and uses the 6-pack itself to make the cover of the journal. Inside, it actually has great little tasting notes about, information about beers and styles and your notes and what you drink it in and, different levels of the flavors of the beers. Right. Really nice paper. It's actually, it's not something you get at like Kinko's. It's actually really nice quality paper. But yeah, this is real nice. He actually does other beers as well. He has lots of other beers that he does stuff for. Right now, he actually has a project where he's making menus for a local restaurant out of beers, which is kind of cool.
What's the name of the company? Sorry.
He is 3 Sheets Books.
3 Sheets Books. Looking at the website right now, and it's he's got quite a few different labels, the styles, variations of the sizes of the journals, the books themselves. He's actually taking donations from any local craft breweries for their containers, their 6-packs, their boxes, anything that he can make his books out of and keep it local.
Right, and he's got, like I said, large, medium. This is actually the medium is what we got right now, which when I had him do this, he normally does not make a beer tasting journal out of this size, but he actually specially did this for us. Mm-hmm. So super thanks to him. I mean, that's amazing. It's really nice. Like I said, we've actually been keeping our notes for the beers we tasted tonight in here. I think that's what we're going to do for the most part is use this to keep track of all the beers we use on the show, which is really cool. So we'll probably need one sooner rather. We'll probably need another one sooner rather later.
And we'll post pictures of the size of the journal that Chris has for your to get an estimate on what it is. But we'll also post a link to the website where you can actually purchase the journals themselves. He has a whole Etsy page set up.
Instagram as well. So add 3 Sheets Books on Instagram there, but yeah, it's really nice holiday gift.
Absolutely. I'm a little disappointed that you actually didn't get me one, but maybe I'll have to indulge and pick one up on my own.
Like I said, well, hey, we're gonna fill this one up pretty fast, so yeah. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Next hey, one. Aaron, hook us with another one. So, but it's super nice. It's really good. Like I said, I love that he hand stitched everything. He hand cut stuff. He actually, if you look in the inside of this box, or I'm sorry, the box inside of the journal cover, he actually lined it too. So this is actually what you see on the inside, it's like a blue.
It's not what the
box looks like. Yeah. If you look at the inside of the box, it's a normal cardboard brown. It's just awful. So he lined this. He actually put a little thing too, also the property of.
So you could put your name if anybody finds it.
Right. And then they can it to you. They can put it into a postal box, I think, and just mail it right back to you. Is that how it works?
I don't know.
So, but it's really nice. It's cool. The only thing I think the only downfall of this is that it is made out of cardboard.
Don't get it wet.
Don't get it wet for sure. I mean, it's around beer. Yeah, I just don't know how the durability of this will last. He actually had one that he carries around with him a lot. It looked like it weared really well. What I figured I'd do is we'd use this for a while and check stuff in and keep it in my bag and do things and then kind of do an update on the blog. Yeah, we update the blog and say, hey, after X amount of months, it's still kicking. So yeah, good stuff.
And we're also really excited because a lot of craft breweries are coming to the Valley here in Phoenix and Arizona. And recently we're excited to welcome Breakside Brewery out of Oregon, as well as Belching Beaver out of California. Actually, Belching Beaver has been here since May, I guess, when they decided that they were able to start distributing, but the actual distribution licensing wasn't going to start until just this past October. But a lot of the local bottle shops actually got together and were going out to San Diego and picking up Belching Beaver and bringing it back and making it available to us before they actually just started distributing last month. So we were really excited about that. A couple other ones that are recently available were St. Archer's out of California. An up and coming one from local is actually Tombstone Brewery, which we're really excited about. It's been following us on Instagram, so thought we'd give them a shout out. We're looking forward to trying some of their beers. So I believe they're on tap right now, currently out at Ground Control. So might have to make a trip out to the West Valley.
I love their logo. It's super nice. It's literally a pint glass in a graveyard. So it's actually like a tombstone, but a pint glass, which is really amazing.
Little Wyatt Earp style.
Right, yeah, it's awesome.
And then a couple other upcoming breweries would be Prairie Artisan Ales coming in mid-November. The one Chris and I are really excited about is Modern Times, which gets distributed the 7th of November.
So Monday.
Monday.
This podcast will be old news by the time.
We're recording this on the 3rd of November.
So you won't even, it will be already here by the time you hear this podcast.
So Modern Times will be here by the time you hear this. A lot of local tap takeovers, including our favorite, the Brass Tap is having a tap takeover for Modern Times on November 10th. So maybe we'll get this out in time to, hopefully get you guys out there. Really excited about all the new breweries and new beers that are available to us here in the Valley.
All right, guys. So actually, I'm sorry, we're drinking a beer right now, aren't we?
We are drinking a beer. We're going to wrap up our political show with kind of just bringing it all together here. in most political seasons, there's always some controversy. One side or the other is always saying how, hey, you know what? If this person gets elected, I'm going to move to Canada.
Going to Canada, guys.
It's a reoccurring theme, regardless of who's in the election, who's running. It's always, if this person gets elected, I'm moving out of country.
I'm going to move to Sweden.
Yeah. So, Canada always comes up as the main place people are going to move, because it's so far away. It's just across the border, eh?
Right.
So we decided to close up the show, our political State of the Union of the Hoppy Craftsmen, with a dedication to a Canadian brew, which is very highly rated through Rate Beer, Unibrow's La Fin du Mois. And we felt it was just the cherry on top for this whole political season. It's a Belgian Tripel. It's a delicious beer. It's very tasty, but again, the name of it, you'll have to look into it yourselves. But it's very fitting. It's fitting for what is happening right now in this political election. And
this whole season has been this. So
I'll be glad when it's over, to be honest. But we felt the need to do our State of the Union with our podcast here, since it is so new, and it felt like a perfect combination with the election itself.
Yeah, right. So with that, it's pretty much the end of the show, Brandon. So
we've drank a lot of beer.
There was a lot of beers to drink.
We've talked a lot.
we talked a whole lot.
I'm getting parched. I should continue to drink this beer and
drink some more of that beer, man. Yeah. So with that, guys, if you like the podcast, do us a huge favor. If you listen in iTunes, go to the subscribe button, click it. It doesn't take a whole lot to do that. Go on our Facebook at the Hoppy Craftsmen. Like our Facebook, follow us on Facebook. We're on Instagram. If you're not already there, get there. Instagram is amazing. Mm-hmm. Actually, to the point I'm almost on Instagram more than I'm on Facebook, just because it's just easier.
It is.
It's just awesome. If you have beers you want us to try or have suggestions, email us. Brandon, what's that email?
It is thehoppycraftsman@gmail.com.
See, super easy to find.
It is, just as the name says, all lowercase, all one word, Hoppy Craftsmen.
Check out the blog. Like us, all those fun things.
Like us, follow us, pin us, poke us, tweet us. Oh, we don't have a Twitter.
No Twitter, but so there are a lot of brewers that we covered this as well, and I'm gonna try to thank all of them right now and other things, but we'll see how that goes.
I'll fill it in with you.
So Distill, Brooklyn Brewery, Avery. What else is out there?
Unibrow. We had Lagunitas. The Wilco Tango Foxtrot. We also, wanted to give the shout out to the Breaksides, the Belching Beavers, the Prairie Artisan Ales, the St. Archers, Tombstone Brewery, Modern Times.
There's a few in there.
We like to spread the wealth.
Brass Tab, Liquor Express,
Bottle Shop 48.
Bottle Shop 48, man. Yeah. Those guys are great. I was in there and getting beers, and I literally mentioned that we had a podcast about craft beer. He was, "What's your guys' Instagram?" And instantly followed us on Instagram, when I was in the store. So super cool. Thanks for following us. That's awesome. We followed them. So,
and to our friends and family, that have already started following us and listening to us, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're here for you guys.
All right, guys. Well, till next episode. I'm Chris.
I'm Brandon.
Hoppy Craftsmen.